Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast. I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Donnie Boivin of Success Champion. Donnie, it's awesome having you on the show.
Hey, brother, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to hang out with you. I love the name of your show, dude. Well done.
Definitely. I truly appreciate it as well, too. That's why I decided to name it as that. And I appreciate you for all the awesome work you're doing. And I wanted to read a little bit more about Donnie so you can hear about all the awesome things that he's doing as well. Donnie is a 20-year sales guy that got tired of making everyone else wealthy. He started his business and ran it straight into the ground, having no clue how to be a business owner. Donnie found podcasting and it taught him a lot of things. And he turned his company, Success Champion, around. Now he's the CEO of Success Champion podcasts, networking groups, and magazine. He is also the founder of the Badass Business Summit. His companies help businesses grow through referrals and badass collaboration. Donnie, are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
Yeah, dude, let's have some fun.
Awesome. Let's do it then. So to kind of kick everything off, I wanted to rewind the clock a little bit, hear a little bit more on how you got started, what I call your CEO story.
So as your bio said, spent 20 years in straight commission sales. In September of 2017, I was put in a position where I was finally going to buy out my business partner, multi-million-dollar deal over 5 years, and I was going to be a sales trainer for the rest of my life. And we went out to dinner. And at that dinner, my business partner said something that just changed everything for me, my whole philosophy on life and everything else. And what he said to me was, Donnie, thank God you're my retirement plan. And when he said it to me, man, he said it out of love, man. And I totally took it out of love, gave it right back to him. But then I walked out to my truck and I sat in the parking lot for about 15 minutes, rolling that around in my head. I'm like, dude, you were literally somebody else's retirement plan. I
Mm.
look back over my entire life and I'd realize that my entire journey, dude, wasn't mine. Everything I took was just what was in front of me, not choices, not learning. It was I went to Marine Corps 'cause my oldest brother went to Marine Corps. I got my first job after that 'cause my best friend and his dad owned a company. I got hired up in St. Louis because they recruited me. I bartended for a couple of years because it was a job. Hired me 100, but every choice I made wasn't really my choice. It was just something that was sitting right there in front of me. So 15 days later from that conversation with my former business partner, I left it all, walked away from almost a seven-figure income, living the supposed life. We had our dream farm and doing everything. And I launched Success Champions. 6 months into launching that company, I had to look at my wife and say, babe, we're about to lose everything we own.
Mm.
I had no idea how to be a business owner. I was a sales guy and I was really good at selling, lousy at running a business. Found podcasting in May of 2018. Podcasting saved my business. And now, flash forward, we have two top podcasts with Success Champions, and now a brand new show we just launched with Growth Mode that is currently number 67 in the world right now in all podcasts. So we're having fun, man, but it's been a hell of a journey getting here.
Yeah, isn't it always? I appreciate you for sharing, that with us and, being, authentic and being, transparent about that whole process, because I think so many times people don't realize that success is a journey, and that journey has some really high highs and sometimes some not so high highs that we have to kind of
Sure.
experience and kind of go through. So it's great to hear that you've been able to kind of, reach that success, but at the same time, sounds like you're giving a lot of information and knowledge for people to be able to know how they could be successful as well.
Yeah, for me, as I was coming up building a business, and I appreciate all the kind words, by the way. But as I was coming up in a business, nobody was teaching the business side of it. I mean, there's tons of people telling people to start businesses. Gary Vee's talking about it all the time, and I will attribute some of me starting a business to listening to Gary for sure. But Gary doesn't always talk about the how tough it really is to build this all out. Not a fault of his, it's just not his audience, right? He just wants as many more people to chase their dreams, which is totally cool. And so I just, as I was going along, man, I kept on one hand wishing somebody would tell me how to do all this. On the other hand, I know I wouldn't have listened. So it's a really funny place to be, to know that I wanted the knowledge, but I had to go through it. I literally had to physically go through it so I could. It's just how I'm wired. I'm not teachable. So I knew that I had to share the things that I was going through to help other people that were coming up behind me. So, and then that's what's attributed to a lot of the success that we've had is it's that I share the ugly side of my journey. And I have no problem telling people I almost lost everything. I got no problem telling people that to this day, operations in my business is not something I should ever touch. I have a team for that. My job is to stay out front, and my team always jokes, if I touch technology, it's going to break. So just stay the hell away from it. But I love sharing that it's okay to have bad days in business. I love sharing that work-life balance is a myth, because once you become a CEO, man, you're never going to stop thinking about the business. And that's okay. It's meant to be that way. So it's okay to be at your daughter's birthday party and be thinking about, what's next quarter's numbers going to be. Get back to the moment, but don't beat yourself up for thinking about it. I mean, this is your livelihood. You're living it 24/7. And, and I'm not saying live the hustle mentality by anything. I'm just, don't beat yourself up if you are, and
Yeah.
I think that's the game I'm in, trying to reach as many people as possible.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I appreciate you for sharing that, because at least what I hear, coming out is kind of like that, I guess, comfort in who you are and
Yeah.
understanding what your lane is. Because I think so many times I myself am one of the people that I enjoy, working. I enjoy, creating content, doing all these things. And I think so many times I would beat myself up about thinking about it 24/7, or when I'm at this place. But if I step into that, I understand that's who I am. And then I also understand that if I am a techie, I'm going to be a techie. If I'm not a techie, then I'm not going to be a
Yeah, for
techie.
sure.
Understanding that lane, that sounds like it increases your likelihood of being successful.
Yeah, and I mean, along the way, man, I've been just lucky finding the right people. I mean, um, I did a fascinating thing as I was building up the companies. I sat across from a buddy, and this, I don't know, I was 7, 8 months into the company, and I was telling him about my business, and he starts laughing at me. I'm like, "Why are you laughing at me?" He goes, "Dude, you haven't built a business. You've built a really crappy job for yourself." And I'm like, "Oh." Now that you say that, and I was doing everything, right? Everything that came through the company came through me. And he's like, "Dude, if you're the one doing it, it's not scalable." And I'm like, "Well, those are very true words." So I sat down, pulled out a sheet of paper and a magic marker, drew a line down the center. And on the left side, I wrote down every task I was doing in the business, man, everything. Above the right column, I wrote, "Would Steve Jobs do this task?" And then I went line item by line item, right, all the way through. And I realized I was just doing a lot of stupid shit that I shouldn't have been doing. And some of the things I had to be the guy doing it, but a lot of it I didn't need to be the guy doing it. So what I went on a mission then, going, okay, how can I find somebody to do this particular task for me? How can I find somebody? And what I learned is if you find the person that completely geeks out on what you suck at, life gets really, really, really fun, because they can go geek out doing what they love, which frees up your time to go do what you want to do. And
Yeah.
that's been the magic behind a lot of what we do. There's a funny running saying with a lot of my followers, and it's everybody needs a Kevin. And Kevin's my director of operations. He makes the whole company. I mean, he's damn near the CEO of the company at this point, just because, he makes everything work. And it's been brilliant.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think that a lot of times we forget that creating win-win-win opportunities is not about doing everything and holding on to everything. It's actually about releasing, understanding where your lane is, and really leaning in on that, and getting yourself a Kevin so that you can make sure that you create that successful environment. And so I know I touched on it a little bit. You did as well, too. Could you take us through a little bit more of the company that you built and how you serve your clients? And then a little bit more on what you feel kind of sets you apart and what I like to call your secret sauce.
Yeah, so we have 5 companies altogether now. So we have Success Champion Consulting, Success Champion Podcasting, Success Champions Magazine, and then we have the Badass Business Summit, and then we have Success Champion Networking. Independently, the Success Champion Podcasting runs the Success Champions, podcast for sure, but it also does consulting for people who want to launch podcast. Success Champion Consulting, we go into major companies, do business development, sales training, and the like there. The magazine is just that. It's a magazine itself. The Badass Business Summit is where we bring people from all over the world to speak, and we're doing it again in September 23rd, 24th, 25th in Arlington, Texas. And then Success Champion Networking, I think, is our biggest thing that sets us apart. Is as a small business owner, not a lot of them know how to do the business development side of things. And frankly, a lot of them just aren't good at it. So we created an environment where we bring together real badass business owners that aren't multi-level marketing, direct sales, or any of those types of folks, in collective groups that become networking / mastermind / education and the likes. And we launched that in March of 20 and have now grown to 31 states across the US, 36 chapters, and we're getting ready to open up Mexico. So we're just fixing everything that people hated about networking that hasn't evolved since the 1980s. We're finally giving it an upgrade.
Nice. Well, I definitely appreciate that. And I appreciate the kind of like the alignment of everything too, how, it sounds like when you're doing one thing, you're doing multiple things and
Yeah,
they're
for
all kind of
sure.
helping each other out.
For sure.
So that's huge. And it's so funny you said that because when you were, telling your story about, how you were, for lack of a better term, badass at sales and being able to kind of execute that, but you didn't understand the business aspect. I almost feel like, and I don't know if you would feel the same way, sometimes for most business owners, it's the opposite. Most of the time, they don't want to touch sales. They don't want anything to do with that. They know how to make sure their numbers are in order and all those things, but it's the sales aspect that really, I think, is probably one of the biggest things to do.
Well, and I think that's part of what made me unique trying to build a business is, sales was never my problem. My problem became I would go sell something, and then my thoughts were I got to be a CEO, and the CEO makes the things once it's sold happen. Right. So I was back playing around in operations and accounting and doing things that I suck at, not my place, versus being the guy out front. So oftentimes when I can sit across from a lot of business owners and be like, okay, look, sales isn't hard. Sales is actually should be one of the simplest things in your business. You're just approaching it wrong. Because at the end of the day, sales is just a conversation that has closure, right? It's sitting across from somebody that can say yes or no to you and getting to a yes or no and no is 100% okay. And once you wrap your head around that that's all you're doing, the creepiness of sales goes away. And it's teaching business owners this philosophy, the opposite of a lot of the gurus in the marketplace who teach sales are like, dude, you got to hard close them, right? You got to knock them over the head, and which is such bullshit when it comes to selling. Because if you do any of that, you just burn too many bridges and you're not building relationships. So I'm more the anti-sales guy, as far as how it's traditionally taught. And I want people, because look, if you're in a sales call, both people should walk away from that conversation feeling like they won, like it was the best conversation they've ever had. And if it's not, you're playing the game wrong. And a lot of the people who are teaching sales out there, man, they come from transactional backgrounds, selling cars, insurance. Nothing wrong with those professions, but they're not worried about building ongoing lifelong relationships. I'd rather keep a client around for freaking years. Let's go, invite me to their wedding, invite them to, parties, let's really get to know each other and hang out and become friends, because in the good times, friends do business with friends. In the bad times, friends do business with friends, and I think that's a lot of what needs to happen in this damn world. So we can erase a lot of the badness of what's being taught and get some good stuff out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I definitely appreciate you, for doing that. And I always think of, whenever you make the sales, you have the bell that sometimes used to ring in the office. And I feel like what you said kind of resonated with me, because as much as you want to ring the bell because you close the sale, the client should also want to ring a bell
You
because
damn
they
right,
close the
because
sale too.
yes,
Yeah, that
yes.
creates that environment. So I
That's a
absolutely
great
love
analogy, dude.
that.
I love that.
Yes, absolutely. And so I wanted to switch gears a little bit,
Sure.
and I want to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
Business development first.
Mm-hmm.
You run your own company, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I want you to think about your sales and business development activity. You should do it every day,
Right.
right? But there's days when you set out to do it and then work happens, right? everything comes crashing down. You got to put out fires, and things happen. Business development gets thrown to the wayside. And then all of a sudden, it's 8 o'clock at night and you're like, oh shit, I haven't done anything.
Right.
So I tell everybody, business development before any other activity, right? You've got to go. And for me and most people, that business development activity just needs to be a reach out. Reach out to somebody who can say yes or no to you. And it can be a DM through like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. It can be a text. It can be, a tweet. It can be, as long as you're doing activity that gets you to a person who can say yes or no to you, I'm down. That's the great way to do it. So, philosophy in everybody that works in my company is everybody's required to do a minimum of 5 reach outs a day. It's not a sales move, because a lot of these guys, I just want them going to meet new people. If business comes from it, cool. If business doesn't come from it, cool. I just want them always expanding their network and who they're meeting and who they're hanging out with. And if everybody's changes philosophy of, put it a different way, in the Marine Corps, you're a rifleman first, right? And then you go do your job. So I was a motor team mechanic while I was in the Marine Corps. Okay. I'm a government trained mechanic, which means I don't know shit about turning wrenches, right? I don't even change my own oil nowadays.
Right.
And it's not because it's that I don't want to do it. It's 100% because I don't want to. That's what I mean. It's 100% that I just don't want to do it. I can do it. I just have no desire. And in our company, everybody's business development first, and then you do your job. And I think if most people would wrap their head around that philosophy, because whatever your talent, skill set, or anything, you can't do it if nobody's bought it. No matter how much you geek out on it, somebody's got to buy it so you can actually deliver it.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that. I always say the name of the game is all about, visibility and being found. And I love that, BD, the business development piece, because it speaks to getting your name out there, getting what it is that you do. But I love how you even defined, those sales calls as just having a conversation with some type of closure, because I think that demystifies a lot of it. It becomes like, okay, well, I can do that through DMs on LinkedIn. I could do that through maybe cold calls. I could do that through, an email, but it starts to manifest itself in so many different ways, especially with all the tools we have, and it doesn't get a lot of the I guess the fear and stuffiness away from it.
Well, and a lot of people, when they're in a quote unquote sales call, they're so focused on getting a close, which is they're so focused on a yes that they fear the no. And for me, the no is just exciting as a yes, because now you don't become the greaseball salesperson. Right? Because now you're not doing all the crazy following ups. I'm just checking in email messages and all that stuff we all hate getting. You're not doing that stuff. So I tell everybody, get closure. And it's 100% okay to look at somebody and go, you know what? This just ain't going to be a good fit for either one of us. Let's walk away from this deal. Can't tell you how many times that I've done that person year or two later has come back to me and go, okay, man, I'm ready. Let's do this. Out of the blue. It's like found money. Or they've said, because they had such a great sales experience, they're like, hey, you know what? We haven't talked in a while, but I ran into a guy who I could really use your services. And then they're still putting your name out there. Most times when you deal with a salesperson, you're not going to brag about that salesperson, introduce them to somebody else. But if you're doing it right, you will. Yeah. And it's just a complete philosophy shift from what's traditionally taught.
Yeah, that's so huge. And you don't have that icky, slimy feel that sometimes you
man.
feel when you talk, with somebody and you're willing to go advocate for them, because you know that they're providing, value for you as well. And so what would you consider, you might have already touched on this, what I call a CEO nugget. So this is kind of a word of wisdom or piece of advice. It could be around sales or business in general, something you might tell a client, or if you hopped into a time machine, you might tell your younger business self.
Yeah. You will never out succeed your failures. It was a really weird lesson for me. Because failure, you hear people talk about you got to fail all the time and fail to win. But what most people don't understand is it's micro failures. It's the little failures. It's a little screw ups that you got to be doing on a regular basis. I tell my team all the time, if there's not some sort of chaos, we're playing too small. Because chaos is a great indicator that you're growing. And you're fixing to learn something new. And we have a running philosophy in the company of let's go break something. And we'll try new projects, new procedures, new systems, new whatever, because it's through those micro failures that you actually win. And it was, gosh, the Family Feud guy, black guy, dude, awesome guy. I can't think of his name.
Oh,
Uh,
Steve Harvey.
Steve Harvey. Yep, that's him.
Mhm.
Steve is the one that actually said you'll never, out succeed your failures. And I heard it. I'm like, dude, that is so brilliant.
Mhm.
So well said. And it really put words around something that I thought to be true. And it's really that, man. It is if you're avoiding failures at all cost, you're actually moving backwards in life, because you don't learn anything until you get into practical application, screw it up, go, okay, let's do it a different way. Or in the words of Rocky Balboa, it's not about how hard you can hit, but how hard you can be hit and keep moving forward. And then you hit again, you get hit, and then the third time somebody goes to punch your ass in the face, duck,
Yeah, right.
right?
Hmm.
And it it's fundamentally shifted a lot in my world to empower my people to go screw things up, because and I don't get mad at them. Things break, things fall apart. That's life. Cool. How do we fix it? How do we prevent it from doing it again and move forward? Um, you ever been to a restaurant and they screwed up your order? And the
Yeah.
first thing they do is they come back and they're like, "Hey, we're going to take care of this meal." No, that pisses me off. I don't want you to
Hmm.
take care of my meal. Don't give me a free voucher. Walk me through how this shit won't happen again.
Right.
Right? Learn from this moment. By throwing me a free meal doesn't do anything to fix the problem moving forward.
Mhm.
Walk me through, how do you guys improve this process? It's the same thing in business. Don't
Yeah.
throw something free at it. Fix it.
Yeah. And I almost feel like it's an accurate kind of look at what business is and what life even is that a lot of times you learn by having those experiences, as you talked about, like with the punching. A lot of times if you continue to say, oh well, I'm just not going to fight anymore, if somebody comes up and decides to try to fight you start to use those skills that you had before. So if you ignore it or you just try to erase it or forget that it doesn't exist, it doesn't get you more quote unquote battle tested for whatever it is that happens. So you almost have to fail and understand that failure is not final, so that you can adjust and get better and know how to basically improve and improve the business or your life or whatever it is that it might be.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Um, I think at the end of the day, entrepreneurs are people who are too dumb to quit.
Yeah.
Because, dude, nobody in their right mind is going to wake up every day, go, let me get punched in the face of the day, and go, oh my God, that's fun. Let's do it again tomorrow. But that's what it's like being an entrepreneur,
Mhm.
is you're constantly screwing up. You're constantly learning. Things are breaking, things are growing. And at some point you break enough things that it starts working. And
Yeah.
I mean, anybody with any sort of logic whatsoever, they throw in the towel and they give up and go to the rest of us. We're just knuckleheads that are somehow broken, that nobody wants to hire us anymore. Because we've beaten our own demons back far enough that there's nothing's going to stop it, and it's become one of the most powerful forces in the world. And that's how I think entrepreneurs know they've made it, is when they become unemployable. you know
Yeah. That naivete is everything. And I think Elon Musk says running a startup is kind of like chewing on glass and staring into the abyss. And that would definitely be along the same lines. And so is that how you would define what I like to call my favorite question, which is, what it means to be a CEO? Is it that ability to kind of just continue to kind of push through? Do you feel like that would be how you would define being a CEO?
I think that's part of it, but I think being a CEO really is more about quickly being able to understand the gifts of others, how to deploy those as a uniform front. Um, I mean, I feel like being a CEO some days, like, being a conductor for an orchestra. You got all your team, you got all your moving parts, you got all of them. You got to make that song sing, and you got to make that harmony come through. And you can only do that when you create an environment where people are okay to screw up, they're okay to learn. They're okay to ask advice of each other. You're not creating silos. And people are actively engaging in, in time during work, outside of work, and you're just creating a flow-like environment of people moving forward. And I sucked at it at the beginning. I was horrible when I first started hiring people because my philosophy was, I hired you, get it done. That's your job. And I've learned that it's all about letting them work in their particular zone of genius and geek out and watch what they create. I mean, it's so cool when an employee comes up to you and goes, dude, look at this. And you're like, holy crap, man, where'd you come up with that? I just love that environment. But you only get that if you're setting the pace and setting the tone as a CEO. I think that makes everything.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that definition, and creating that culture is definitely huge. So you get those opportunities to create those win-win-win, scenarios and
Exactly.
situations. So Donnie, truly appreciate that definition. I appreciate your time even more. What I wanted to do is just pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you can let our readers and listeners know. And of course, how best they can get a hold of you, subscribe to the podcast, hear about all the awesome things you and Jamie are working on.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks for that, brother. As you guys are listening, the biggest thing you need to know is you got this. I love anybody who's jumped out on their own and tried to change and impact their own life by doing something greater. Keep going. It's going to work. Be a knucklehead like the rest of us that have found a little bit of success, and stay in the game and have fun with it. If you want to come check out our podcast, come listen to Growth Mode. So you can find Growth Mode wherever you listen to podcasts, including YouTube. And we are teaching everything from business development, sales, and you're hearing it from me and Kevin Snow. And Kevin's a really introverted dude, and I'm extroverted, so we're constantly debating how to do business development from those two sides of the coin. So it's a lot of fun. I make a lot of fun of Kevin and have a really damn good time of it, and it's pretty raw. So I was really light on the cussing here, but you listen to that podcast and you're gonna get all of me all the way through. And then, guys, do me a favor. This I Am CEO is a phenomenal conversation, man. I've enjoyed the hell out of this. If you guys get any value, tips, nuggets, gold out of this thing, do him a favor and teach somebody else how to subscribe to his show. Man, as a fellow podcaster, I can tell you reviews are beautiful. We love them, but subscribers are everything. So wherever you're listening to podcasts, grab one friend, get them to subscribe to I Am CEO, whether and help him grow his audience so he can continue to bring these badass conversations to people.
Awesome. Awesome. I truly appreciate that, Donnie. We will have the links and information in the show notes as well, too, so that everybody can follow up with you. But appreciate you for taking some time out, all the kind words you said as well. And I hope you have a great rest of the day.
My honor, brother.